this is Dale Beaumont and welcome to Get Published TV. This is the only dedicated show on the internet to help authors and aspiring authors to write, publish and market their own best-selling book in 8 minutes a day or less. Now I need to just apologize for a few of my videos because I'm still kind of getting into the groove of things. A few have been over 8 minutes, so I want to try and make sure that this video is under. I probably need to invest in a little egg timer or something like that to put it over there, and that way I make sure that I stick to my time. But fingers crossed for this video. Here we go. We're actually going to talk now about something that some of you might think is quite trivial and not that important, but I'm going to tell you it is really important, and that is paper. Paper, that's right. So we're going to talk about this subject of what type of paper that you should actually print your books on. Now let me tell you why this has been so important for me and my publishing career. This is the first book that I published. It was a book called The World at Your Feet, which is a personal development book for teenagers. Now I'm going to talk more about a lot of the lessons that I learned from this book in future episodes, but here's one of the important lessons that I learned with this particular book. Now it's actually quite a small book. It's actually about 78 pages long, so not very big. Now, when we actually first printed this book, we went to a local printer. And this local printer also printed business cards, brochures, etc., etc. And we said to them, "Oh, can you print a book?" And they scratched their head for a moment and said, "Oh, yeah, we can actually print a book." So there's an important lesson that I'll share with you in just a sec. So we said, "Great, can you print 100 copies or can you print 500 copies?" So we used them a couple of times, and this is what they produced. So they produced this book here, and it was fine. It was sort of served its purpose for what we had to do, but then we were ready to do a bigger print run. We actually were ready to jump to 5,000. And someone said, "Look, you should probably get a couple of different quotes and shop around to get the best possible price." So what we did is we found a few specialized book printers, and that's the key word, specialized book printers, meaning that that's all they do. They just print books. And we said to them, we'd like to get our book printed, we want 5,000 copies, and it was actually a lot cheaper to go with the specialized book printer as opposed to just a local printer, because these guys do this all day, every day, and they have invested, in most cases, millions and millions of dollars in machinery to produce books quickly and efficiently, and therefore you get to save quite a bit of money. But the other thing is, because they're professionals at this, they actually know a number of things which local printers don't know. Now, for example, one of those is in the area of paper, or sometimes we call it paper stock, what stock you're actually printing on, and stock meaning what quality of paper and how thick that paper is. Now we can get in really technical here, and we can start to get into things like GSM and other stuff and big words, but I'm going to take all that jargon out and basically say that this book here was printed on, because it was just a local printer, what would be equivalent to kind of like just A4 sort of photocopy paper is the best way to actually think about and describe it. Is basically photocopy paper, and they printed the book on that. Whereas when we went through a specialized book printer, they advised us to go with a different type of paper stock, which is called bulky paperback. Bulky paperback, and you can kind of figure out by the word bulky that the paper is actually a little bit thicker and a bit fatter. Now the reason why that is so important, I thought, what's the big deal? Paper's paper, right? Wrong. Okay, there's a big deal, because I don't know if you can get this, but I'm going to try and show you this point. I'm going to turn them around, and here we have the first print run that we did, and this was, I think, the second or the third print run. But if you can see that closely right now, this second book is almost, not quite, but it's almost double the actual width of this book right here, yet it's got exactly the same amount of pages. It's got 78 pages. We didn't add anything to it. We just printed the book on a different paper stock. And most people that are first-time authors, they don't know this. They just go to a local printer. So the reason why this is so important is that most of the times, and if you can see that there, you can see that there's quite a big difference. And of course, this is only a very tiny book. Like if we were doing another one, I haven't got an exact example, but it can again make as much as double the actual thickness. And the reason why that's so important is, let's take this example. Say that they were the same book. They're not, but let's just say they are. How much text can you actually fit here? Or what about the size of the font? Because when someone's actually in a bookshop, this is all they get to see. If you're lucky, they can maybe face the book out, but normally, because of space reasons, authors aren't that lucky, so this is all people are seeing. They're looking down, they're reading the spine. And if you've got a thicker book, then it makes it much easier to actually see, and if they see it, then they may say, oh, that looks interesting, and actually pick it up off the shelf, as opposed to this one where they just kind of gloss over because it's so thin. Okay, and again, it's the same with these examples. So one of the things is that it makes the book a lot more thicker, and so it makes it, you've got more spine width to actually play with. The other thing is it can increase the average dollar sale of the book, because being this small, it kind of feels quite flimsy. The spine is very small, so maybe that book can only be priced at, let's just say, $14.95, so not a lot. But this book here, because it's thicker, this can actually be $19.95, and it's actually in the $19.95, so you're getting an extra $5, but the book is exactly the same, because when it comes to putting a price on a book, one of the things that they look for is what's called the thump value. So when they drop the book, what type of sound does it make? Does it make a loud sound or a soft sound? That one kind of sounded a lot louder because I dropped it on its spine. But the thicker the book is, then the more money that you can actually sell it for. Now, when we're talking about bulky paperback, you may be thinking, well, how does it actually work? How can it be double the thickness? Because the paper is actually, basically the paper is fatter. Now, there is a downside to going with a bulky paperback, and I want to just point that out to you right now, because for every advantage, there's also disadvantages as well. It's about weighing them up and picking which one is actually right for you. Here I've actually, to do this example and demonstration, I've got an A4 piece of paper that's just normal paper that came out of our just printer just over there in our office. Here I've actually got some a hand towel from our bathroom. Now this paper is obviously much fatter, much thicker, and this one here is obviously quite thin. So I want you to just imagine this is bulky paperback and this is just normal paper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this pen on the paper for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to take it away. And you can see the size of that dot right there. And in fact, if you could just zoom in, Dean, just in a few seconds' time, when we have these 2 dots, so we can just check it out, that'd be great. I'm going to do another one here on this piece of paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to take it away. Now, in this dot here is actually starting now to what's called bleed. So that ink is actually now starting to become bigger and fatter. Now, I kind of did this on the back of a whiteboard, which is probably not the best example. If I was actually to do it on the back of another sheet of paper, and we'll do it again, it's going to be much more dramatic. So let me just do this right now. I'll try it again. Okay, because now we've actually got another piece of paper at the back of it, and the more paper we have, the more dramatic this is going to become. And again, you can see that that dot is actually becoming bigger and thicker. And now, if I'm just doing it with a pen, but if I had a drop of ink as well, you'd basically see it there. So this bulky paperback will actually make the ink, what's called bleed, a lot more. So therefore, if you have a lot of graphics and if you have a lot of images, then going with this type of paper stock is probably not a good choice, because those photos won't be as sharp, they won't be as clear, because every little dot, every little pixel is now actually bleeding into the others, so it takes away the sharpness of that particular photo and image. So, but if you've just got text, then it doesn't make a lot of difference. You can still read it just as clearly, and so therefore if you've only got text, my recommendation would be going with a bulky type paper because it makes your book appear thicker and fatter, and therefore you've got more spine width to play with, and you can actually have a better positioning in bookstores, and you can sell your book for more money because it's perceived as being more valuable because it's bigger in size. Whereas this paper right here is really good for if you've got a lot of photos or graphics that are in your book and they're all spread throughout. If that's the case, then what you probably want to do is go for this type of paper. It will be thinner and your book will be smaller, but the images will be much sharper. The other alternative that you've got, of course, is what a lot of, this is especially used in biographies, and in biographies what they basically do is that they put 5 or 6 pages in the middle where they have even better paper than this. It's got more of a gloss, and a lot of those are colour images. And then for the bulk of the book, it's actually this bulky paperback. So they actually, put the two together in the one book. It's a very kind of, again, we're getting into finite details here when we're talking about what paper stock to use, but it can actually make a big difference when it comes to the success of your book. I think I've again gone over time, so I'm going to keep working to get better at this and get the time down to be much shorter, but weigh it up, talk to your book printer and see which option is right for you. This is Dale Beaumont from Get Published TV. Thanks for watching, see you next time.